Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's build is a Cinderstrike Bladedancer. This skill saw a huge buff, especially in the melee field, with the new crystal swords that were added in 8.2. The crystal swords are a level 64 plus sword, but they have very powerful implicits. These implicits allow it to have 40 flat physical damage, as well as between 100 and 200% increased elemental damage, and 10 to 20% increased elemental melee attack speed. What this means is if you have an elemental melee skill such as Cinderstrike on the Bladedancer, or if you have Shatterstrike, Firebrand, Flame Reave on the Spellblade, skills like that, you get a huge boost in attack speed and in damage just with the implicits of the sword. So we're going to be wearing two of these. You'll be able to get up to 400% increased melee damage, or in this case fire damage. You'll also be able to get up to 40% increased melee elemental attack speed. And what that's going to allow you to do is attack very fast with Cinderstrike and now make it do a lot of damage. For those of you unfamiliar with Cinderstrike, it is a 3 skill, which means there's 3 cycles to it. You'll have the first strike, second strike, third strike, and then it resets and repeats. Each strike acts a little differently with a different animation. Strike 1 has where it does a huge AoE hit, and the other two are just a small single target hit. Because we're attacking so fast, we'll be able to get the huge AoE over and over again at a 0 mana cost, which means we never have to stop. This is going to allow us to clear huge AoE, mob trains, trash mobs, packs really quickly. At the same time, we'll also be able to still do good damage to single targets, as you'll see in the gameplay. This build had no problems going through empowered content. Since we are wearing swords, you get the extra increased dodge. You also get the glancing blow, so you are quite tanky. And because the way we have Cinderstrike spec'd, for every time we use Cinderstrike in the last 4 seconds, we're going to get elemental resist, we're going to get increased flat dodge, and then we're also going to be doing more damage. This means that you're kind of a berserker. The more attacks you do, the more damage you'll do, the more defensive you'll be. So it becomes really tanky and really strong quickly into the fight, especially against bosses where you can sit there and just attack them over and over again. You'll have over 70% dodge at all times, and you'll have your capped elemental resist, as well as other resist if you gear correctly. This does not require any uniques, and you don't even have to have top tier gear in order to start flying through empowered echoes and timelines. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the skills, the interactions, and just how it all works. For skills, I'm running Decoy, Shift, Cinderstrike with +2 levels, Smoke Bomb, and Shurikens. For Decoy, we have this set up for a bunch of debuffs, as well as to increase our dodge, give us haste, and to increase our critical strike multiplier depending on how much dodge percentage we had while it was active. We got 1 point in Embedded Spikes, 1 point in Lasting Presence, 4 points in Into the Shadows will give us 200 flat dodge while it's active. 1 point in Ambush gives us higher critical strike multiplier after it explodes per dodge chance percentage that we had. We'll have between 70 and 85% dodge percentage while it's active, depending on if you shift or not while it's active. 1 point in Boom, 2 points in Efficient Construction for the mana efficiency, 2 points in Sonic Detonation. This means when you throw it out, it'll have a sonic wave that expands outwards. All enemies hit will suffer 2 frailty stacks and 2 armor shred stacks. 5 points in Warning Sound gives you 5 seconds of haste when you cast it out. 1 point in Ear Shatter is another armor shred stack, as well as armor shred duration gets an increase, and then 2 points in Harrowing Noise also fears all the enemies that are hit with Sonic Wave, so they run away for 2 seconds. You don't have to put the point in Boom. You could change it to where you have Sound of Flames. Instead of shredding armor, you have Fire Resist shred so that you'll do more damage with Cinderstrike. However, either way, it doesn't really matter because Armor Shred or Fire Shred will both increase the damage that you do, as they both protect against fire. For Shift, we have this set up to proc our Shurikens for us to give us haste and to give us an absolute buttload of dodge. We've got 2 points in Shadow Recuperation, 5 points in Sleight of Hand, 4 points in Swift Recovery, 3 points in Momentum, 1 point in Shadow Slip so we're invulnerable while shifting, and 5 points in Elusive so that for 1 second after shifting we will gain 150 flat dodge per point of dex that we have, so you will gain a lot of dodge. For Cinderstrike, with the +2 levels, you don't have to have the +2 levels. This will work just fine as a level 20 skill. We have it set up with 5 points in Inferno for that base fire damage. The first attack gets double for 40. 4 points in Blast Wave. This increases the damage of the first attack as well as the area by 100%. We got 2 points in Ignition so that we ignite, but this is mostly just to unlock other areas, such as Incinerate, which gives us another 12 added fire damage, but this can stack 3 times up to 36 added fire damage, which is a lot. 3 points in Oil Coating. Every time that we do an attack on an enemy and hit at least one enemy, we will gain a oil coating stack. As there's an infinite amount of these that you can have, they last for 4 seconds. The more of them you have, the more damage that you'll do, as well as the more dodge you'll get, and several other things. But here we'll have it to where we gain 15% fire damage per stack. If you're attacking as fast as possible and hitting an enemy, you will have about 20 stacks. That means that this will give you roughly 300% increased fire damage, which is a huge amount for just 3 points in the skill. We then also have 2 points in Elusive for the dodge rating and the fire resistance. We will gain, if you have 20 stacks, you'll get 400 flat dodge rating. It'll also give you a massive amount of fire resist. And then we have 2 points in Combustible, so that as long as you have over 3 stacks, you get more Ignite effect and you get 20% fire penetration. For Smoke Bomb, we have this set up to leech, do some extra melee damage, and then of course slow the enemies as well as give us Dust Shrouds. We've got 1 point in Thick Smoke so that all enemies in the Smoke Bomb each second will be slowed. Remember, you can have multiple stacks of that, so the longer that an enemy is in the Smoke Bomb, the slower it will go. Then I got 1 point in Shrouded of Darkness so that you'll gain Glancing Blow chance and 50 flat dodge rating for every Dust Shroud stack that you have, and this will give it to you every 2 seconds while you're in Smoke Bomb. With 4 points in Rapid Concealment, it will now give it to you every second. 1 point in Generosity increases the starting area. 5 points in Lingering Fumes increases it to the max duration that you can have Smoke Bomb active. 5 points in Smoke Blades gives you more melee damage, and 3 points in Blood Bandit allows you to leech more of that damage. And then for Shurikens, we have this set up. It'll be procced when you shift. It'll throw out 5 Shurikens. This is just going to give you increased armor. So we've got 3 points in Alacrity, 4 points in Ethereal Blade so that they'll pierce. You really want the pierce because otherwise you'll shift, they'll come out, and then as soon as you hit an enemy, they'll all disappear. You want them to pierce so they last for the full duration. You have 4 points in Abrasive Arsenal, which gives it Physical Res Shred, as well as Poison Resistance Shred. 1 point in Thin Shurikens increases the amount of Shurikens. This doesn't affect it with the way it works with Shift. 1 point in Blade Shuriken makes it to where they cast around you. They have a duration. 4 points in Floating Blades increases that duration, and then 3 points in Bladed Armor gives you increased armor per Shuriken that is active. For passives, we got 25 points in the Rogue base class with 8 points in Swift Assassin, 8 points in Steady Hand, 1 point in Twin Blade, and 8 points in Duelist. We have 20 points in the Marksman with 8 points in Focus Fire, 1 point in Assassin's Quiver, 1 point in Concentration, and 10 points in Woundmaker. And this is so that every hit that you do, you will have 100% chance to inflict critical vulnerability on the target, which is going to make it to where you're going to be doing 100% critical strike chance within the first few hits on an enemy. This really helps against rares and bosses, where normally you would only have 70 or 80% crit chance. Now within a couple of hits, you'll just crit the entire time. It also means that if enemies happen to have 100% critical strike avoidance, that you can work that down and do critical strikes to them after a few hits as well. And then we have 67 points in the Bladedancer, with 8 points in Cloak of Shadows, 1 point in Shroud of Dusk, 5 points in Veil of Night, 8 points in Once, 3 points in Pursuit, 8 points in Flash of Steel, 8 points in Weapons of Choice. Because we're wearing 2 swords, this is going to end up giving us 40% Glancing Blow, 5 points in Blood Dance, 6 points in Asuvant's Pact, 5 points in Perfection, 5 points in Confidence, and 5 points in Exuberance. If you're leveling this up, you're going to want to put the first 25 points in Rogue. The Marksman 20 points can be the last 20 points that you do. You don't need this right off the bat. Save these 20 points for the last ones that you do. And then the Bladedancer, just work your way up the tree. The Dust Shrouds that you get, especially with that Glancing Blow and the dodge chance, really help with your survivability early. And then of course getting the extra leech and the Weapons of Choice really helps with survivability and damage. And then the Perfection stacks is one of the last things you work into as well. For items and idols, so for items, there are no uniques required on this build. This does revolve around having 2 of the new crystal swords that you have that have the super high implicits, up to 200% increased melee elemental damage, as well as up to 20% increased elemental melee attack speed. On them, we put more melee attack speed as well as added fire damage. I have that on both of them. You don't have to get tier 20 or even exalted items, but if you find exalted crystal swords with added melee fire damage, they will be really powerful for this build. You can easily double the amount of damage that it's doing here if you were to find tier 7 melee added fire damage, so keep an eye out on the look for that. And then I'm just going to hover over the rest of these. Basically, we stacked a lot of dodge, we got our critical strike avoidance, we then fit in a little bit of health and a little bit of resistance everywhere else that you could. If you want, you can change these around. It's not a big deal. You don't have to cap your resistances, but I do recommend you do. This build is based around mostly just dodging. You will incur a one-shot every now and then. I wouldn't recommend this build for hardcore. Then for idols, we got 2 types of idols we're wearing. We're wearing 2 2x2s. We got the suffix of increased damage while wielding a sword for the prefix. Not too worried about that. If you find something better than what I have here, you can. I'm not sure what all rules, but I'm sure there's something better than bleed on hit with shurikens. Then we got a bunch of 1x3s. These can come with several different things. I wanted to get as many that had increased critical strike chance per sword equipped, but we only had a couple. And then you can get increased armor shred effect as well. You can also get increased area with Cinderstrike's first attack, as well as added dodge rating if you've been hit recently. That one's not super important because you already have so much dodge in this build, but again, just another layer of defense. You also don't need to have the increased area with Cinderstrike, as it already has a huge area of attack that it does, just with that 100% multiplier that you get inside of the tree. For the character sheet, as you can see, we're capped on resistances except for poison. I would recommend trying to get at least some poison in. If not, dodge poison, obviously. But 2, if you happen to go into an echo that has poison spires, I definitely recommend just leaving and hoping to reroll the challenge and redo it. You don't lose rewards anymore for leaving one. Poison can be deadly. And then we're just a little shy on lightning and cold. We have about 13% armor, but again, when I shift, you're going to see that actually jumps up to about 23% damage reduction. This is a level 100 character, so it doesn't get any lower than that. And then for dodge, we sit at 34% not doing anything. When we shift, we jump up to 84% for just 1 second. However, it's going to go even higher when we're getting our oil coatings from using Cinderstrike. I'll show you that in a second. But for damages, you can see we're sitting at, for fire damage, 518, but that's going to go up dramatically when we get the oil coatings as well. And then, of course, when you're in Smoke Bomb, you're going to continue to get more dodge rating from that as well. If you just stay in Smoke Bomb, you'll be at 60% dodge. And we'll just go ahead and show you what happens when you get the oil coatings here. I'll go ahead and get to the maximum stacks you're going to get. It only takes 4 seconds to do it. You'll see my dodge. You're sitting at 77% dodge as long as you're continuing to attack something. And that's without using shift or without using decoy and without using smoke bomb. If you throw those out, you're going to have it even more. You can see our fire damage jumped up to almost 900%. If I throw on a smoke bomb as well as keep attacking, you'll notice that we get even more dodge. Now you're sitting at about 79%. You throw out the decoy as well. I'll do a shift and you can hit the maximum 85%. That's still 84%, but you can tell it's a lot of dodge. And then when the decoy disappears, you'll get more critical multiplier for your skill with that. And then, of course, how to play. I like to put Smoke Bomb and Decoy both on autocast, and then I just shift around when I need to, and you just attack with Cinderstrike. It's really that simple. That's really all you do. You just attack with Cinderstrike. You can see the AoE on it. It's going to clear things. Usually I'll round up a big group and then just start attacking, but you don't really want to let all of your oil coatings disappear. You want to make sure to get in like at least 3 attacks every 4 seconds, so I kind of just go forward a little bit, make sure I hit something, and then continue on with my shifting. Like I said, this is empowered doable. We beat Orbis in empowered with some modifiers. You know, we beat the timelines, especially in Fall of the Outcast. We were expanding outwards quite quickly, not seeing any deaths there. Occasionally, you will get one shot. Obviously, you can dodge those big hits. It's going to be something that's very visual. But in some cases, you know, I stood in it hoping for a dodge, and it didn't happen. that's going to be it for this build guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it's easy. There isn't too much on it that's hard to get. You know, idols will take a little bit, but there's kind of some mix and matching going, and they don't make or break the build. Other than that, I just wish you luck with getting really good rolled crystal swords. Alright, like I said, that's going to be it. I'm going to leave you guys with some gameplay, and as always, stay safe, travelers.